In 1934, the German Ministry of Aviation gave out specifications for a new fighter aircraft. The fighter had to be equipped with at least two MG-17 machine guns and have the capability of utilizing the 12-cylinder liquid-cooled V engines under development by Junkers and Daimler-Benz. The request was sent to Focke-Wulf, Arado, Heinkel, and the Bayerische Flugzeugwerke. The first Bf-109 prototype, the Bf-109V1, was powered by a Rolls-Royce Kestrel engine and made its debut in September 1935. After winning the test trials, a further 10 pre-production prototypes were ordered. Another noteworthy prototype was the Bf-109V4, the first to have 3 machine guns mounted in the nose, and it was powered by a Umo 210A. The first production Bf-109 was the A variant. The A variant went through many different visual changes such as engine, cockpit, machine guns, ventilation holes, and slats. The position of the oil cooler was also changed several times to prevent overheating. Many of the Bf-109As served in the Condor Legion during the Spanish Civil War. The first Bf-109 that entered serial production was the B-1 variant. The B-1 was powered by the 661 horsepower Umo 210D engine, driving a two-bladed fixed-pitch propeller. During the production run, a variable pitch propeller was introduced and retrofitted to older aircraft. It became apparent during combat that the dual machine gun armament was inadequate. A third machine gun was added in the nose of the aircraft, but was too unreliable. A total of 341 Bf-109Bs were built by Messerschmitt, Fieseler, and Area Maschinenwerke. Production of the short-lived Bf-109C began in the spring of 1938. It came with an upgraded Umo engine, 2 more machine guns, giving the 109 4 MG-17s. But arguably the most important change was the strengthened wings. Only 58 Bf-109Cs of all variations were ever produced. It is important to note that on July 11, 1938, Erhard Mielke finally allowed Willy Messerschmitt to acquire BFG. It would then be renamed to Messerschmitt AG. Designations for new aircraft would now become ME instead of BF. However, the Bf-109 would continue with the designation BF, but also run with ME. The Bf-109D was the next in line, and became the standard fighter of the Luftwaffe prior to the start of World War II. The Bf-109D only saw limited service during the war. All 235 Bf-109Ds in Luftwaffe service during the Poland campaign were rapidly replaced by the Bf-109E. Only a few Bf-109Ds stayed in service as night fighters and were used until early 1940. A total of 647 Bf-109Ds were produced by Focke-Wulf, Area, Fieseler, Arado, and AGO. Interestingly, Messerschmitt is recorded to have only produced 4 Bf-109Ds. The first mass production Bf-109 would be the E variant. It was equipped with a much heavier Daimler-Benz 601 with 1085 horsepower, which powered a 3-bladed propeller. Due to this change, the structure of the aircraft would be strengthened to support the extra weight of the engine. A more refined version of the Bf-109 would come next, known as the F Series. This version of the Bf-109 was lightly armored, removed the wing root guns, and came equipped with the Daimler-Benz 601N engine. The F-Series was also introduced with semi-elliptical wingtips, which would become a standard feature of all Bf-109s going forward. Compared to the earlier Bf-109E, the F variant had much better aerodynamics. The engine cowling was redesigned to be much smoother and rounded, and added a new elbow-shaped supercharger intake. The new enlarged propeller spinner was adopted from the new ME-210, which fit nicely with the new engine cowling. Slightly more than 2,000 Bf-109Fs were produced, quickly replacing the lightly armored F-Series Bf-109s. In the summer of 1942, the G-Series was introduced, coming equipped with a Daimler-Benz 605D producing 1,800 horsepower with water methanol injection, giving a top speed of 428 miles per hour or 685 kilometers per hour. The G-Series had a reinforced wing structure, light alloy armor for the fuel tank, heavier welded framing for the cockpit, along with the addition of a bulletproof windscreen. The G-Series came equipped with a variable pitch 3-bladed propeller with even broader blades than the F-Series. Over 12,000 Bf-109 G6s alone were built. The Bf-109K was the last Bf-109 series to see operational duty, and the last Bf-109 in the evolutionary line. The German Ministry of Aviation ordered Messerschmitt to simplify production of the Bf-109, consolidating parts and types in order to make a standardized model with interchangeable parts and equipment. Flaws in the airframe from previous iterations were also remedied, such as the tail wheel became retractable. The K-4 was the fastest Bf-109 of World War II, reaching a top speed of 440 miles per hour or 710 kilometers per hour, with full power at an altitude of 24,600 feet or 7,500 meters. Deliveries of the K-4 began in the autumn of 1944, with a total of 1,593 being delivered by the end of the war. The first taste of action the Bf-109 would receive was during the Spanish Civil War. 136 Bf-109s were sent to Spain, in which they mostly served in the Condor Legion. Only around 20 Bf-109s were lost in the Spanish Civil War participating in aerial combat or lost to enemy ground fire. Of the remaining Bf-109s, 47 of them, including B, D, and E variants, remained in service with Spain after the conclusion of the Civil War 1939. The Bf-109 was credited with more aerial kills than any other aircraft. 105 Bf-109 pilots were credited with the destruction of 100 or more enemy aircraft. 13 of these pilots scored more than 200 kills, while 2 of them had over 300. This group of pilots in total were credited with nearly 15,000 kills. The majority of Bf-109 pilots scored their kills fighting against the Soviets. 5 Bf-109 pilots scored over 100 kills against Western pilots. During Operation Barbarossa, German Bf-109 pilots claimed 7,335 kills for exactly 350 losses in aerial combat, a ratio of 21-1. One of the most well-known operations of the Bf-109 was the Battle of Britain in 1940, in which Luftwaffe went up against the Royal Air Force and their Supermarine Spitfires and Hawker Hurricanes. The majority of Bf-109s used during the battle were E-1 and E-4s, equipped with the Daimler-Benz 601. The fuel-injected engine proved to be a significant advantage because the carbureted British engines would cut out during negative G maneuvers. Even though the Bf-109 was an overall superior fighter to the Spitfire and Hurricane, which was found out in August 1940 when comparative test trials were held at the Central Luftwaffe Testing Facility, it was ultimately hampered by the limited range. The Bf-109 was designed to intercept bombers over friendly territory. With the Bf-109's internal tank, it only had a range of 410 miles or 660 kilometers. After reaching a British target, the Bf-109 only had 10 minutes of fighting time before having to return to base, thus leaving the bombers exposed. The Bf-109 remained to be a comparable fighter all the way to the end of World War II, although it didn't make the difference due to the increasing number of novice Luftwaffe pilots rushed into service, going up against well-trained Allied fighter pilots. The Bf-109 served with many countries, some up until the 1960s. Countries that use the Bf-109 include Germany, Spain, Italy, Hungary, Finland, Switzerland, Yugoslavia, Romania, Japan, and Israel. The Bf-109 would also be captured by Allied countries including England, the United States, the USSR, and France. The Bf-109 was flown by the top 3 scoring aces of World War II, including Erich Hartmann, the top scoring fighter pilot of all time, claiming 352 victories, Gerhard Barkhorn with 301 victories, and Günter Rall claiming 275 victories. All of them flew with Jagdgeschwader 52, a unit which exclusively flew Bf-109s. JG-52 was credited with over 10,000 victories, mainly obtained on the Eastern Front. However, Hans Joachim Maisel was the highest scoring German ace in the North African campaign. Hans claimed all 158 of his victories flying the Bf-109 against Western pilots. The Bf-109 was one of the first true modern fighters of the era, having features such as a monocoque construction, a closed canopy, and retractable landing gear. The Bf-109 was the most produced fighter aircraft of World War II, with 30,573 examples being built during the war, and being the most produced fighter aircraft of all time with a total of 33,984 being built up to April 1945. Between 1945 and 1948, most of the Bf-109s that survived the war were either destroyed or scrapped. Starting in 1988, Bf-109s were one of the numerous examples of crashed relics found from World War II. These planes that were found were being recovered for restoration. Examples of recovered crashes were found in France, Italy, and some that were even buried in Germany. As of December 2016, there are only 67 known existing Bf-109 airframes. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Make sure to hit the bell icon to be informed when I release new videos.